This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 360 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, Kentucky Performance Products, and 2K Gray. Today we've got Richard Malgrim joining us again to talk about long lining. Hilary Moore-Hebert will be with us, and today we've got a great trainer tip.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. And we've got a special guest here, Glenn, who never joins us anymore.
I know.
Hey, guys.
Hi,
I'm here.
We miss you, Glenn, when you're not here with us.
I'm going to see you next week, Reese.
I know. Next week, everybody knows Rolex is coming up. My credit card, I'm trying to warm it up a little, or...
I'm in trouble. I'm in
Yes.
trouble. Let me explain why.
Oh, God. Yes, you have a new horse.
Yeah, Jennifer got a new horse, which is much bigger than the old horse, which means nothing fits. So now she
Jennifer
also
and I are going
sold
shopping.
the old horse and has all the cash in her pocket.
Yes.
So, yes.
Jennifer and I are going shopping on Thursday. I'm just saying. Oh, yeah.
I noticed how nothing made it into the bank of that cash from selling the horse. It all just got stashed somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's under the mattress. It's like it's in the Rolex fund. Yeah, I'm with her. Just like, yes, we are excited. I know we all are like, gosh, we just got home from Florida. We have no money. Oh, we'll find it. It is shopping. It's it's like a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a holiday at our farm. The Thursday of Rolex, we always go shopping. Everybody comes to the barn early. Everybody rides. It's like get on every horse you can get on, lunge whatever you can lunge. And like by 10 o'clock, when it opens, we are like beelining it to Rolex.
Well, you definitely have to, get in touch with Jennifer. She would love to go along
Done.
with you.
I just sent her a text.
She will love that. She'll
go shopping with us. Yeah, it's fun.
And it's always more fun to go when you know somebody has a lot of money.
Oh, I know.
Then you can
I'm
help them
excited.
shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, Jennifer, what can we get?
Shopping by proxy is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And it's fun because the Rolex has, if you ever get a chance, everybody, the Dressage at Rolex, I'm not going to lie, it's okay.
Nobody watches the Dressage at Rolex.
Nobody watches it. So it's great because everybody that's there is, they're not there, they're shopping. And it's very typically pretty light shopping. So you kind of get to see the whole thing. It's great.
I mean, it's probably more stands than they have at the Kentucky Horse Park for any other event.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
At any show I know of. I mean, there is a massive
Bit of Britain alone. He just told me, he told me yesterday, he has 4,500 square feet.
Unbelievable. And it's packed.
I know. You can't walk in his tent.
No, it's crazy. And if you go on Thursday and Sunday are when you get the discounts, like where you can find really good deals, like in the clearance stuff. So I am like, oh yeah, it's great. I don't need anything. I really don't need anything, but I'm sure I need something.
I wanted to mention too, if I can, remind everybody, if you're coming to Rolex, we're doing a meetup for Horse Radio Network listeners. You can meet us a half an hour before the start of cross country on Saturday at jump number 1. So we're all going to meet up there. We did this 2 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. We had a whole gang of people. And then we kind of all chat and hang out together for a couple rides and then start walking the course. And then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're all going to meet up at the Eventing Nation and Horse Nation tailgate party.
Fun.
And we, Jamie and I from the morning show, are doing the trivia questions. They always do trivia every year at the tailgate. And by the way, there's free beer and food.
Yes.
So you head over there, and there's like 200 people show up, and they give away all kinds of prizes. And Jamie and I are hosting that this year. So
Fun.
we'll be at Eventing Nation's tailgate. It is the tailgate of the place. I mean, that's where everybody goes. So we'll be there at 2 o'clock. So we want you all to come back. And if we know you're a listener, we're a little partial to listeners during the trivia. I'm just saying. All right. So
I love it. Oh, it'll be so much fun.
Can I also tell you one other thing quick, and I'll stop hijacking your show. We are sponsored. We're doing 2 shows there, 4 Horses in the Morning, Friday and Sunday, and we'll have all kinds of fun guests. and Jamie will be there. So we're doing those shows. Jennifer will be there. But we're sponsored by Bates Saddles, Bates Saddlery. And I have to tell you that Bates Saddles is gearing up to introduce a new Luxe leather upgrade on all of their Plus leather saddles, including the Bates Isabel. So they're getting a leather upgrade. They're getting nicer leather on them, but they'll still have the Easy Change fit solution, the Easy Change gullet, and the care panels that you can swap out. So they're going to be there. That you could be able to test them and find them there. There's a couple of stores that will have them. Bit of Britain is one of them. So they'll have a demo saddle that you can try one out there at Rolex. So if you're heading over, check out the new Bates line of saddles, including the dressage saddle. And I'll tell you what, the Jennifer has the Windtech version. And that has been so nice with this new horse because she had to change a gullet when she got him. And now in 2 weeks, he started to develop muscle and stuff. So she had to change a gullet again and the pads. So she was able to change both out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're very
system.
good balance.
I've ridden a couple horses. Yeah.
Yep.
Have
Very
you ridden in the
balanced
Isabel?
Yes.
Yeah. And they're good saddles. They're very,
It's a
very
good saddle. Yeah. I mean, it's
I recommend it for my juniors. When they're growing so much or they're changing horses quite often. I think it's a really good saddle for them. So I definitely recommend it. And it's a very balanced saddle. I mean, that's the thing.
Balanced, and it's inexpensive, and it's a lot of great things about it. Yeah.
Well, we want to thank them for their sponsorship. And of course, they're a company that's owned by Weatherbeeta, and Weatherbeeta has been a great sponsor of ours. So we appreciate them as well.
Very cool. Well, I love it.
Well, Reese, tell us what you've been up to lately.
Yeah, so we always get into things. That's one of the bonuses of living here. USDF asked us, Ashley and I, to do a demonstration yesterday and today for the IEA, which is the Interscholastic Equestrian Association. And I don't know. There were a lot of people in the stands, and obviously, we do the show, and but I'm not going to lie. I'm in my office, usually in my pajamas. I'm never like in front of.
You're not really in front of anybody right now.
No, exactly. I'm not in front of anyone. I'm sitting by my dog with me. I'm hanging out. So it's different. So it was fun to do a demo where I see people. So that was fun. So the IEA is a great association. They have 42 states now that are a part of it, and it's for private and middle school and secondary schools to promote equestrian sports. So they're working on having a dressage component. So it was really fun. It was fun. Ashley rode Giacomo, who's her Grand Prix horse. And so it's always fun to take one out and let him show off a little. Jack was very proud of himself both days. It was really cute. And so it was really fun. So we got to do that. There's a big horse show there this weekend. Like I said, I looked up and there were a lot of people looking at us. So that's always fun. So that was good. And,
cool.
Just getting back in routine. I think we're about there. I still find things like, oh, we didn't clean out the trailer yet. Still a little bit of things.
All the little jobs that nobody really wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Unpacking this or that.
Exactly. So, so very good. But everything is good. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean,
awesome.
Sort of up and down with the weather and all of that. So we're just trying to map out everybody's show plans this summer so that I can get to as much stuff as my students are going to, and it looks like it's going to be busy. So look forward to it.
You really have a shortened season.
Yeah, shortened season.
Yeah,
so you have to pack in as much as possible over 8 to 12 weeks sort of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So,
you're 8 to 12 weeks. Well, we go to November and you're like, I'm done. I'm always jealous. I'm like, oh, but you're much more packed and much more tight than we are here. So that's very good. Well, we have a really good show. Yeah. So right after this commercial from 2K Gray, we're going to come back with Hilary Moore Hebert, contributing editor from Dressage Today.
2K Gray's mission is to honor a woman's adventurous spirit by creating apparel that offers comfort while riding, plus style when you're not. In 2011, Grand Prix rider and entrepreneur Chris Pinto joined forces with fashion industry veteran Meryl Ranzer to create a chic and sophisticated line of performance riding breeches that look and feel better than your favorite pair of jeans. The line, made for women by women, is now being expanded and refined, by teaming up with global equine manufacturer and distributor Intrepid International and notable fashion designer Kia Tomlin. 2K Gray offers serious riding clothes that are sturdy in the saddle, yet slimming, stunning, and sophisticated everywhere else. Each detail, from pocket shape to seam placement, is designed to enhance a woman's silhouette and to celebrate different body types. The collection is machine washable and proudly designed in the USA. Check out the new and exciting designs at 2kgray.com. That's the number 2, the letter K, GREY.com. You can also follow them on Facebook at 2K Gray. Feel better and ride better. 2K Gray.
Well, this is our favorite segment of the month. We are so happy to have contributing editor of Dressage Today, Hilary Moore-Hebert, on the show. Hilary, welcome.
Hi, guys.
This is our favorite. This is my favorite segment of the month because we're such a good team now. I love it.
And I feel like half the reason I come on is just so you guys shower me with compliments every month.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Gotta motivate people to come on the show.
Exactly. Whatever it takes. Well, Hilary,
after a long day with the dressage stuff, you get to a point where you're blaming yourself for everything. So it's nice to feel like you can do no wrong on the radio at the end of the day.
That's why Philip and I are here. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's how Glenn gets us every week.
Yeah, exactly. Reins us in. Well, I love it. Well, Hilary, tell us, we have a big show today. What are we talking about for our first segment?
So I have a bunch of things that are a preview from the May issue. So for subscribers, if you guys have gotten the magazine, otherwise go out and get one on newsstands for the May issue. But the first article that I wanted to talk about was with Olivia Legoy-Welch, and she talks about defining rain aids. And I think it's interesting that this is applicable to so many levels because she talks about really making sure that you can push your horse from the inside into the outside rein. And I think she says it nicely when she says, a lot of the masters talk about riding in slight shoulder 4, and that I think it takes a while to understand, why they say that. And she said it's really another way of talking about having your horse off the inside aids into the outside rein. And so if you ride in slight shoulder 4, you have that contact in the outside rein. And she took it a step further, and I liked this of saying it can be a savior if you have a tricky horse, because a horse that is focused and, slightly flexed or bent to the inside can't look at things that it's looking at to the outside. And also a horse that may have a tendency to be naughty and want to either buck or rear or take off, you have them nicely connected and, soft to that inside rein. And she said, she has always been told for any horse, if you come into a problem, whether it's, behavioral like that or just getting the quality, is ride them with their head up and forward into the bridle. So I really liked that as an idea, because whether you're talking about training level or FEI, it can never hurt to be riding with that really steady outside rein contact that's created from having them soft on the inside.
Yeah, I like that. Of course, we, dressage riders, we talk about this a lot, and I know that Reese and I give tips that basically, come towards the same sort of thing. But I like the idea. I don't think we've talked before about giving the horse, like a spooky horse or a horse that is has a little bit of a behavior issue, to give them focus and to really use the energy in the right way, that you're not just driving them straight ahead all the time, that you're using that shoulder in or shoulder 4, with that outside rein contact. I think it's about sort of preparation for any corner or turn or move. Always happens to the inside because there's no ring on the outside of you, right? You're against the wall a little bit. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. And really pushing the horse there. Always, even if they're steady there, I like to say, okay, can I get a little bit more? Can I make a little bit more pressure? Again, especially horses that I need them to focus a little bit more on what I'm doing. So, do you have anything to add there, Reese?
No, I think that's great. And I think Olivia, she's a good friend of ours and a good friend on the show. And she rides the horse she took to the Pan Am Game, or was the alternate, is a very spooky horse. Lono is his name. And she really is a great example of how you can sort of, frame in a spooky horse by really driving them to the outside range. So if you ever get a chance to watch her, she in person, she does a fantastic job of it. And I think it's just something I always tell that to people, if they're able to ride shoulder 4 and to drive that horse to the outside rein, if they were to spook, you have much more control as you do it. So, no, I think it's a fantastic tip.
I have, had some horses too that are very spooky in the ring. And I noticed that it's common when you have someone who's not used to that, their first reaction is either to sort of allow the horse to look at what they're spooking at, or, you are nervous to push them forward because what might they do?
Right.
Actually, like you said, the best thing to do is to push the horse forward and, act like that thing isn't there so that you can just keep on with your work. And, Philip, like what you were saying, it was, it allows you to have a focus. So instead of just chasing the horse forward, then they might bolt and kind of be out of control. You're filling up the rein contact so it's into a safer place.
Yeah, and I just had a conversation this week with a student that, I always tell people, even though it doesn't feel safe, I prefer a horse that runs away a little bit than one that stops, because dangerous things happen when horses stop. These spooky types. I've had I've had all kinds of problems, but the times where I was in the most danger is the horses that rear and flip. So again, I mean, if you're it's counterintuitive, but keep on trucking, right? Just keep moving.
Go.
Just keep going, because when the horse is going, you're gonna more or less gonna be fine. That's just my own personal, dealing with problem horses, problem issues that, I'd much rather be going a little too fast than a little bit too slow. So.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Hilary, how about our next one?
So the next tip that I have is an article on bitting, like the bits that go in the horse's mouth. And I think that this is a very interesting point that's in the article, and there's a lot of really good points. But if your horse has their bit or bits in, it is helpful to put your fingers in the side of their mouth near where their bit seat is, and make sure that you can put 2 fingers between the bit and the top of their mouth. Because, and this is what was in the article, there's a misconception that large, bulky bits are very gentle on a horse, but you can get a bit that is too big for a horse's mouth. And for people who I have an Arab cross, you have some horses tend to have just smaller faces, but are very large horses. So you never know until you kind of look around and really look at the size of their mouth. But you don't want to get into thinking that a big bit is gentler. I actually, took this to heart with a horse that had a very small mouth, and I got the thinnest bradoon and lament that you could get. I have to be careful because it can be severe because it's so narrow, but at the same time too, the horse that I'm talking about was very happy to have those in his mouth, because you could then close his mouth and have room for his, tongue to exist and everything. So, I think that it's counterintuitive to think about this, but I think it's helpful to be aware, because the difference and I think we're seeing this more with, the technology that's coming in with really good bit companies, but the difference when you have the right bit or bits is phenomenal.
It's true. And I think you're right. I think if you think about it, like if you have a small mouth and you put your mouth around like a wide pen, or, you put something in your mouth, it's hard to hold that. And so I think, just from a logical standpoint, when I was growing up, it was always that, the bigger, thicker bits are, gentler. Not necessarily. And I think that I'm kind of a bit junkie myself. I'm not going to lie. I love hearing about bits, because there's just so much you can learn, and there's not that much information out. I read this article in the magazine because, there's not a lot of information written about it. And I think it's really important to sort of educate yourself as much as possible. And my big pet peeve, honestly, is with double bridles, with the curb bits, most of the time, if you really look at a curb bit in the horse's mouth, it's too wide. A lot.
It's hanging
And
out the side of the
it's
mouth.
hanging out the side of the mouth. And,
Yeah.
we always look from the front, but in a curb bit, gently be careful when you just don't get popped in the head, but you really should look from the opposite side. You should look from put your head between the horse's chest and the bit and really see how wide the bit is, because a lot of times they're so wide that it's not good in the horse's mouth. I mean, it's too wide, you can almost see. So, but if you look from the other direction, it looks okay. So I think it's important that you work with someone. I have one of our village members, as I like to say, my team members, is a bidding expert, and I will go to her and I will say, I've got a new horse, this is my issue, and I will have her, if I'm anywhere close to her, fit all the horses, or at least size the horses. And I think that's incredibly important to do. How about you, Phil?
I think just thinking about the horses that we're breeding nowadays have very small heads compared to warm blood. Thoroughbreds are always sort of narrow and small, but all the warm bloods we're breeding now, especially those Rousseau horses.
Yes, I have
say that to
them.
Reese, but I mean, because she's got two of them basically. But
And
they have quite small heads, narrow mouths, and there isn't much to them in their mouth. So you've got to be thinking about that when you're bidding, and each horse is a little bit different and has a little bit different conformation of their mouth sometimes, and then just preference. Some horses like a really narrow bit. So if you're having trouble, don't just keep going wider. Try different things. I think you got to be sort of somewhat creative or think outside the box, because it can be just a horse's preference to like a bit that you maybe intuitively don't think about too much. So it's good to always have a really sorry.
I was going to say, the one thing too that I noticed, speaking of the doubles, is there's a lot of emphasis on the port in the middle that I think people think they're relieving tongue pressure, but you don't realize that when you apply pressure, that's going up in whatever company you get it from, that I don't think people look into enough, is a bit that has like a 30 or 35 degree angle forward, so that when you're not applying pressure on the bit, it can lay flat a little bit better. So you can still have a port and there's tongue space, but it's not like a big arch that's going up into the top of their mouth.
Yeah. And I think this is for sure a lack of education. That's why I was so happy to see this article in the magazine, but I think it just scratches the surface. I happened to, it just was a chance meeting. I went to a shop in Wellington, and there happened to be an expert, one of the representatives from the company. I ended up chatting with her for almost an hour and just looking at each bit and having her explain, and it's something that I never feel like I know enough or have enough information. And so chatting with her and really trying to educate myself on why would I go to that bit, or who should I use that bit for? And it can be an expensive proposition. I mean, I like bits like I like shoes. So I am always grabbing new bits and like, ooh, let me try that. Or Rolex is horrible. I end up buying like 10 bits. Yeah. I am a bit of an addict, but it's important because every horse is a little bit different. And like
it can
Phil
help
was
your
saying,
training, right?
Yeah. And like
Why
Phil
not?
was saying, like my big guy, Elancourt, he's huge. I mean, he is massive, but he is literally has a 4.5 bit. Like that's the size of his bit. You would never look at that horse and think that, but he almost is pony size. He's got such a small mouth. So you never know. Don't look at the size of your horse. It has nothing to do with it. But Phil's right. I mean, Phil was there when we were fitting bits for him. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Oh no, that was his size. And so I think it's really important to if you don't know, talk to your trainer. And honestly, your trainer may not know. So talk to somebody, find someone that knows, or even bring someone in. It's that important to make sure you have that good of a bit. So I loved this article. I thought it was really, really helpful. I read it twice, actually. I'm not going to lie. It's very, very good. So thank you, Hilary, I'm glad the magazine covered that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's our next one?
So my last tip is not really, just a tip. It's talking about World Cup finals. And there's a test event that's coming up in a couple weeks in the beginning of May. in Omaha, Nebraska, which I think is very cool because, first of all, I went over there when we had a board meeting for the Dressage Foundation and got to see the area. But, it's really exciting to see that the sport is expanding. You see what happens when, like, what's coming up with things, Rolex in Kentucky, and you have stuff down in Wellington. And just to have it be that we have events that are happening around the country to get people excited about the sport that may not be, interested in spectating otherwise. I just think that this is really neat, and it's very unusual. And I know it caught a couple people off guard when they announced that it was located there. But if you guys are interested in finding out more, or you have friends who live in the area who maybe aren't dressage people, that you want to encourage them to attend, Nancy Jaffer did a great coverage, and she's going to continue to do it, leading up to everything. So I encourage everyone to check that article out because it kind of gets you started and ready for what's going to be happening.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
I saw that there's a few Canadians going to that show in Omaha, beginning of, I think it's May 5th to the 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
and Lauren
we're
Spryzer,
excited to hear
a good
about.
friend of our show. Yeah, Lauren Spryzer's going. So we're hoping to get sort of just a firsthand kind of account from how it was. And I've seen the venue, actually. I ended up going out and doing the Nebraska Horse Fair a couple years ago, and I saw the venue, and it is a huge venue. It is a very, very big venue. And Omaha is a really neat city. I again, just scratched the surface. We have a friend, Phil and I, that lives out there, and Heidi took me around, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun. So it is a cool, but the venue is huge, and they have a lot of events out there. Mostly Western events. So it'll be really fun to see how they do it. And the test events are always fun. So I was excited to see that as well. And like I said, I agree. I think it's fun that our sport is expanding, and a lot of people from the area will be able to see and be exposed to something a little different than what they see. So I like it. Well, Hilary, thank you again for your time. We always love having you on the show. And how do our listeners find you online?
They can check us out at dressagetoday.com, as well as Twitter, YouTube, and definitely check out the Facebook page with everything coming up with World Cup coverage.
Excellent. Well, we can't wait for next month.
Okay, have a good night.
Well, as always, we love when Hilary comes on. Such a fun segment. And after this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to come back with Richard Malgrim, and we're going to talk about long lining.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
Spring is here, and so are pastures full of luscious green grass. Spring grass is high in vitamins, minerals, and sugar. Most horses have little problem adjusting to the changing sugar levels found in spring pasture, but for at-risk horses, grazing on sugary grass can lead to big problems such as colic or laminitis. By paying attention to daily temperatures and following a couple of simple rules, you can limit your horse's access to such sugar-laden grasses. In the spring and fall of the year, limit grazing or stop it completely when daytime temperatures are warm and nighttime temperatures are below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Under these conditions, the grass produces sugar during the day and it stores it in its leaves. At night, the plant transfers the stored up sugars to the roots and stems to fuel the growth. If the evening temperatures are cold, the grass will not make that transfer, and all of the sugar will remain in the leaves where it is readily available to your horse. In the summer, when days are sunny and nights are warm, it is safe to allow grazing in the early morning hours, but it should be restricted late in the afternoon or evening. This is because most of the sugar that was produced the previous day has been used for growth overnight. Therefore, the level of sugar in the leaves is low in the morning. But as the day progresses, the grass once again accumulates sugar in its leaves in preparation for nighttime growth. So later in the day, the more sugar-packed leaves become. Because grass is a great source of essential vitamin E, horses that are restricted from grazing, especially easy keepers and horses in hard work, may develop vitamin E deficiencies. Lack of vitamin E can result in sore, stiff muscles and neurological problems. Elevate Maintenance Powder from Kentucky Performance Products is an affordable way to provide your horse with the vitamin E missing from his diet. Each scoop provides 1,000 international units of natural vitamin E, and natural vitamin E is absorbed and retained in the tissues at a much greater rate than the synthetic vitamin E found in many feeds and supplements. Best of all, when you choose a Kentucky Performance Product supplement, you get a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, this evening we are so excited to have Richard Malgrom back. He is the co-founder of Sport Horse Legacy LLC, but also Richard is an amazing long lining instructor. And I am so happy, Richard, you have been so kind to us this season, being our trainer for the season.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun, that you and Ashley have been able to come out and get some experience on it. I do really, really love the long lining and the concept of it. It's such a great complement to the training program, as I always like to call it,
Well, Ashley and I are not a compliment to our riding program at this point in time, but you are for sure a compliment. Ashley and I are still learning how to hold the reins properly. So we're going to be real here. But we have not talked about long lining at all on our program. And Philip and I really feel like it's an important thing to talk about. So, we did it. I saw you beginning of the season and really wanted to kind of learn something new myself. And so it's been fun to sort of be in the I'm learning phase, which has been great. So, Richard, can you kind of start from the beginning? This is sort of long lining 101 for everybody to sort of, if you don't know or have experience, can you start even very basic? What is the tack that you should be using?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say a few words about the background for me, coming from Sweden and a father that was a jumper and event rider. And so for me, having become a dressage rider, but growing up, I did a lot of cross training, and I believe very much in the cross training. In Sweden, we had to have the horses indoors during the winter months, and so then it was obviously hard. But I always signed up for one of the jumping lessons, just in the week, to be able to have some fun and keep that cross training happening during those months that we were more in the indoors in Sweden. And again, that's how I see the thing with the long lining. I believe it is a very good, complement to the training. And again, it's another cross training opportunity to have. And it is, very important to have the right equipment to start this. And you can really get in trouble if you don't have the equipment, because you have a lot of feet of rain. And of course, I can't think of, because most of the things are measured in meters, and I think it's 12 meter long reins, and I don't know what that converts into the feet, but that is a leather reins, and that is very important because that has a natural feeling in the horse's bit. And then you have a special surcingle that have standing lines or rings on the surcingle, on both sides of the surcingle. So again, without a picture, it's kind of hard to describe, but it's standing up rings so that the leather reins can flow free through the rein, so that the instant that you give, on a rein, that there is an instant release in the bit to the horse. Because basically, what long lining is that you're riding the horse from the ground, and there is a lot of ways to do long lining. The way that I have been taught long lining and the way that I do long lining is the system that is being taught out in the Swedish Academy. And that's basically that you are a little bit on the inside of the horse, so not straight behind the horse, and that you're about a whip length, a long lining whip, which is a whip that is made for driving pairs. So it's a little bit longer than just a regular single driving whip, so that you are away from, in case that the horse were to kick out against you, then you're free and safe from that. But yet again, you're close enough to be able to influence the horse with the whip, and then that gives you the opportunity to see the horse pretty much from a trainer's perspective. And that gives a great benefit to be able to see your horse, because as we all know, we take lessons from trainers because we need the feedback, of how the horse is evading, when you're riding it. And here you get a chance to see this, when you are long lining the horse, because it is very transparent. You have, less points of contact compared to when you ride a horse. As we all know too, just to go back further, horses weren't made to carry anything, when they were, put on this earth. So, they are already heavier on the front end to begin with. So when we get on them, they increases with the weight on the front. And our job is to train the horse to carry more on the haunches. So that's another opportunity on the long lines to the horse to be able to find his or her own balance, without the additional weight on top. And I like to compare it sometimes to make an analogy a little bit about a person going to the gym and just using his or her own body weight with pull-ups and push-ups. You are what you are. You can't, if you're 120 pounds or you're 180 pounds or you're 250, when you pull you up, that's what it is. And it's a little bit with a horse, when you don't have a rider to use the leg aids and the seat aid and the weight aid on top of the horse to lift the horse up and to support the horse, then it is the horse that has to do this on its own. And we know that horses evade through crookedness, speed, and inversion, and of course a mixture of them. The first thing that I address on the long lines is straightness and aligning the back and get the horse to become more ambidexter from behind.
Which is very hard. I will just jump in. That sounds very simple, and actually when Richard does it, it's very good. But when you get back there and you have to sort of turn, it's fine when you're going straight, but then you have to turn, and that's
welcome to the world of driving.
Holy smokies! I'm telling you, I just wanted to stop you because Richard, that sounds so easy, but that is so hard.
Yeah, no, I mean it is. It's not easy. I definitely believe that it is riding from the ground. You're using the whole arena. You're not just standing on a circle, because then that is a little bit like double lunging. But that's not what long lining is. You're using the whole arena, and the goal is that you should do movements such as leg yields, shoulder ins, half passes, and turn on the haunches, and squares and figures, and then you can start working on pirouette work and so forth. So, you are really riding the horse from the ground, and you're using the whole arena. So you move a lot, and that's something that's very important, that you're able to control that, and in lengthening the reins and shortening reins. And that is, as I say, the same thing when you ride. What you can't do in walk, there's no way you can do it in trot and canter. So always go back to a slower gait if you feel you're getting out of sync or out of rhythm, or you're starting to lose the control. And then think about how that it is really hard for the horse sometimes. And if you're asking the horse to maybe do a leg yield, and you think that, well, normally that's not so hard, because when I ride the horse, but here, you don't have an outside leg to support the horse with, and your seat aid and the weight aid. The horse has to carry that. And as I said, they are crooked, just like we are, we're left-handed or right-handed, the horse is the same thing. So when he has to carry himself on a weaker leg, and you are, asking maybe more than he feels that he can do, he is going to take off in the speed evasion, and try to get away. And that is, that can be dangerous. A horse can do 180 turn or a 360 turn, and then you're really in trouble, So it's so important, to be able to find the rhythm, find your body position using the whip, because the whip is your leg aid, that's your leg. Both when the horse wants to come in with the shoulder, you have to use the whip up front, and then to drive the horse forward, you have to use the whip behind you. And then you, of course, your body position. But the way that again, without describing it more, but the way that we're standing a little bit 3/4 in, you have a clear line of sight to the horse's eye, because as we know, the horse's eye constructed that he can see backwards. So that is what's so important, that you have that, so that the horse can see when you put the whip up front, when you put the whip behind, and that when you move towards the haunches, that he can turn in, and that you're not blocking him to turn on a left turn if you are going to the left. Then it's important that you move towards the haunches. And it definitely is a skill, and it definitely takes time, but it's just like riding. You got to practice gives perfect. You got to do it and do it. And the most important thing is that you have a horse that is a little bit forgiving, and that is not too sensitive. Would be my advice. When you want to start
safety factor,
first,
right?
Yeah.
Before you get behind with just a pair of lunge line or a pair of long lines and a whip. That I think the horse has to really trust you. I think that's really important.
Absolutely, and again, that's why I can't stress enough about like having correct leather reins. Because we know that should something terrible happen, it's easier that a leather rein breaks than a nylon,
Nylon won't break at all.
And then some of these long line surf singles that they sell, don't have the rings that are standing up. They just have flat laying D rings, and that is just detrimental, because then the horse is not going to feel when you do a give on the rein, and that's so important. Just like when you're riding, the horse needs to feel then when you take a half halt and when you release, and so the equipment is very important. And then the safety of having a contained arena, where you either have fences around, or in an indoor that you have the kick walls and stuff, because it can easily happen that you lose, you drop a horse, or the horse stays at a 360, and you can't really untangle that. And if you try to do it, then sometimes they can again get panicked, and so it's more better to just sort of like stop and not try to fix it, because sometimes fixing it can be escalating it, and so safety is a huge factor.
And we've seen this too, mistake made with driving reins. They connect on the ends. Okay, so you actually connect your reins together, but when you're long lining on the ground, you don't do that. And the reason is your horse gets away from you, which, by the way, I was training a Hackney bolting pony. And he did get away from me once or twice when he bolted. And you don't want those reins to be connected together to get a wrap around. So, but I've seen people do that, and it's a big mistake.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it gets wrapped around you for some reason.
Yeah. Then you're gonna get pulled. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting drug along. Or
we were getting wrapped up in the reins at the halt. So I'm just saying, but I was also going to say, I think it's really important. Like I said, Richard has been so patient with us this year, but having an instructor who actually knows what they're doing. And then, there were 3 of us out there. And I think, certainly when Ashley and I go home without Richard, which is a frightening thought, actually we're getting much better because we've been taking now lessons, and we both have lessons, but to have 2 people out there. So, if you get sort of tangled up, which happens, that somebody can sort of just stand with the horse and you can get organized.
Grab the head. Yeah.
And everything he talked about is what we're doing is to get in preparation for putting the shafts on. Because once you put the shafts on, you're introducing a whole nother aspect to it.
Danger.
But the horse already knows how to move its back end and its front end, knows what the whip cues are, so that that's easier when you put the shafts on, and the horse starts freaking out a little bit about that for the first couple times. They kind of have an understanding of what to do with those shafts, that they're not going to eat them at that point.
No, and I think that it's a lot of people ask me, it's like, this long lining, is that something you do in the backing stage and stuff? And when I worked at Hilltop, we had a lot of young horses that we started under saddle, and we did incorporate a version of long lining, not the type of long lining that I'm doing, to train with a horse that's like confirmed training level and going under saddle. There's a whole different sort of introduction of the long line in the steering in the backing stage, and that's, just, it definitely is a great tool in so many ways. And it's interesting to hear you're saying, interesting to hear about how then you guys are using the long lining to then introduce the pulling the carriage. And again, it's just because the equestrian sport, it has so many, there's a red thread in so many ways, through these disciplines that we're doing. And that goes for driving as well, because you guys, a lot of the top drivers, they ride their horses, they train their horses to do, all the movements that has to be done, both in the cross country phases and then in the discipline, the cones and so forth, So it's so interesting with our sport. And I just believe so much in finding that red thread and you in cross training in working with our horses. To me, that is the key to success. And to talk with eventers, to talk with jumper people, and it's just always interesting because there are things that you can pick up from them, and I just think that we don't do enough of that cross training work and socializing with the other people in the other disciplines enough. I think it would be fun to do much more of that in Sweden and in Germany and Europe. A lot of these shows are combined with the eventing, the jumping, and the dressage show. So everybody is doing them, and in lower levels, the riders do their horses in all the disciplines. So it's just much more of a cross training. What's the word? Cross training endeavor for the young horse.
And even for our horse, we're bringing an older horse. He's 12, and it's been very, very helpful because his name is Merlin, and Merlin has been great because he actually has been slightly complicated, and he is also in the riding, not in a bad way. He's kind of a wiggle worm, so he does not have the speed evasion. Thankfully, there's no speed involved with what we do.
I'd like to see you running around after Merlin, actually.
Well, there's no speed. Yeah, there's no speed. Yes, you can. We'll have to have Phil down when Richard comes from clinic. But there's no speed, thankfully. But there's a lot of other things, and it's really helped us with riding and helped us, with his he's especially slow in his left hind leg, and that's been very, very helpful to use this technique. And I think for riders, and that's a lot of why I took the time and I took Ashley, my assistant, is I felt like it's a really cool technique that I've never really learned. And so I think it's always important for all of us to contact a professional and maybe learn something new and different. So Richard, I can't thank you enough personally for putting up with us, but also for coming on the show. And if people have any questions, how can they reach you?
Yeah, Richard, I just wanted to ask you, you're doing clinics all over the place in the States now, are you not?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit here and there.
We're friends on Facebook, and you've been traveling different areas, and I think that's great because there's not a lot of people that do this with sort of a dressage background in mind, and just the way that you do it. I think it's very helpful for people. So I just wanted to say draw attention to that.
Yeah, no, usually it's just been, through word of mouth and contacts that I've had over the years. And, as I said, though, it's just a really, it takes a lot of work, and, you move a lot. And so there's only so much that you can actually, do with the long lining, as far as physically, you can only, sometimes when you do 8 horses at a clinic, you're about 12, 13 miles, that you're moving, it's something that I have not marketed, because again, I have to turn down, business for, or requests for that. So it's something that I, again, have gotten through word of mouth and from people that I've helped and that have been, students and other trainers through the years, So it's it definitely is great that there's an interest for it, and I do believe in it so much. Again, it's like with anything, it needs to be in the right hands, and it's very like I always say after my session with a horse, I always point out how important it is that you see this level of contentness in the horse, that the eye is soft, the nostrils aren't big and flaring, that he isn't or she isn't nervous when I approach to either switch direction or to gather the reins at the end of the session. That there's that calmness. The horse really walks through its body at the end and is just feeling pride in the work that he's done, just like we would if we'd gone to the gym and done, just body work, pull-ups, push-ups, and sit-ups. We would feel pretty proud of ourselves, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that you're feeling like your bicep is burning because you had so much in your outside rein, and that you were quote unquote, like, this is a joke, but like water skiing behind the horse. Then something is wrong. If the horse is shaking and the horse is nervous and it's a little bit afraid of you, then it's not done right. It's supposed to be a very, very pleasant experience, and it's supposed to be loosening work, where everything starts, recycling over the back, and that is the key. And I always say that when I go to places, this is not like, Piaffe and Passage training when I come to do the long lining. It is about working on straightness, ambidexter, contact, throughness, and then get this recycling of energy over the back, And I like to say that you're supposed to stretch something out before you put it together. And if I were to help somebody with Piaffe and Passage, I don't think that I would do so much on the long line. I would actually rather do it more on a short rein, walking next to the horse, sort of the short rein working. So it is important to emphasize, that it needs to be done in the right way. It's not just to put the reins on and start, going out there and that.
Oh,
so
let me tell you, it doesn't happen that way, everybody. It's very, very challenging. But for sure, if Richard is in your area or you have a chance to see someone who's an expert in long lining, I would highly suggest going and then learning if you have the opportunity. So Richard, thank you so much for coming on the program. How would our listeners find you online?
Richard Malmgren, also on Facebook. That's I think the best way to reach me in today's social media world.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Richard. We appreciate it.
And again, thank you for having me. All right. See you guys.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, for today's Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, we have Ken Huber, who is an auditor for the Horse Radio Network. Ken asked in the auditor's page this week, and Phil, this is for you and I, how do you try and develop your horses equally on both sides? So Phil, take it away.
I think the first step is developing your riding skills on each side. Try to do that first equally, because obviously if you're not good with your left hand and your left leg, it's very hard to train the horse. So it sort of goes hand in hand. And I think the first step in that is sort of assessing, your abilities on the two sides to say, how much do I need to do here? You can do it off the horse and building strength, flexibility, these types of things, so that you try before even sitting on a horse to say, I'm doing the best job I can and being as equal as I can on both sides with my own body. And then we know that some horses are, like for me, if a horse is bad on the right, I can fix that pretty quick, because I'm good with my right hand and my right leg. But if the horse is bad on the left and I'm not as good on the left, then it's going to create more issues that I'm going to have to spend more time on. And then just sort of I've got to sort of feel it out, feel the horse out a little bit, and then just daily thinking about it, and maybe spending a little bit more time on the side that's not as developed, and trying to do the best to help the horse. I think eyes on the ground help you to, sort of thinking about the same things, like, someone that can help you to say, listen, you're not as sharp with your left leg. You've got to work on that. Your left hand is not as good. It's crossing the wither, or it's doing weird stuff that your right hand doesn't. Work on that. So yeah, having somebody on the ground, or we talk a lot about using videos and using that as a training tools. I think is some great stuff. What do you think, Reese?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think honestly, one of the things that I always watch is that I'm training my horse equally time-wise on left and the right side. And I know that sounds silly, but we all have a preference. And so if you're just kind of riding, you're like, wow, typically I'm right-handed. So most of my horses are hollow left, stiff right. So if I'm not paying attention, I find myself going left a lot. I'm like, wow, I'm awesome. I'm going left. My horse feels great. I'm like, you dum-dum, you haven't gone right. So I think one of the things for me is just paying attention. And it sounds so silly, but I find it with myself that I am really working both sides equally, if that makes sense. Like just time-wise, that I'm spending the same amount of time left as I am right. I have a tendency, I know this about myself, that I will spend more time left, almost always. So I really have to say, hey, did you go right? Like, have you worked that problem left and right? So I think it's easy when you're doing a movement, like say you're doing shoulder in left, obviously you're going to do shoulder in right. But if you're working something that is not, let's say you're working transitions and you do, multiple transitions in a row, you have to say, okay, let me make sure that I change direction and I do the same amount of transitions on the right side as the left side. Yeah. So that's one of the things that just on a high level, when I read that question, I thought, I know that sounds so beginner or so, just basic, but I think I find myself doing that. Again, we've talked about it before, and actually I learned about it here on the show, is the warm-up pattern. And that came from Gina Smith from Canada. And we haven't actually talked about that in a long time. I literally use that warm-up pattern every day on almost every horse. And just to quickly review.
Yeah, it's like the warm-up pattern is almost like a basic training level dressage test that you're doing everything sort of symmetrically. And you do a 20-meter circle here, and then you change direction. You do sort of the same thing on the other side, walk, trot, canter. And so, I can help you to just make sure you go through each step equally on both sides. And assessing those things. I think for me, on the non-dominant side, you're weaker, but you're also slower. And so I think not about trying to be stronger on the bad side, but just being quicker. So to assess the problems and fix the problems quicker. My hand and my leg is just that little bit slower to fix problems. And I think that's where the trouble gets created. I don't, you never want to ride stronger, but quickness is really a key tool to developing good horses that are equal on both sides, that they react properly and quickly to the legs and to the hand and to the seat and all that good stuff. So I think hopefully we've given a few things for our listeners to think about.
I have one more thing, Phil, to ask is I think just again, it's common sense, but you don't think about it. When you're grooming your horse, it's one of those times that you really should not just be, knocking the dirt off. You should actually be looking at your horse's muscles and looking how the horse is developed. And I think it's really important even to stand, obviously carefully, don't get kicked in the face, but, stand behind your horse. Look, is my horse being developed equally left and right? It sounds silly, but I think it's something you should be doing, on a weekly basis. I know people that take pictures of their horse weekly to make sure that
it's so easy, right? You got your phone there, just go ahead. Yeah.
Take a picture every Monday and just, take a picture from the same angle and just see if how your horse is developing. And I think that's important to do. And actually it's one of those things that I kind of focus. One of my veterinarians says she does that for something every week. And I thought, well, why am I not doing that? So I think that's important too. You can really
you just reminded me with the grooming thing. Somebody told me when I was younger is you try and groom your horse with your non-dominant hand.
Yes.
So for me, I'm right-handed.
Left
I
hand.
try and use the
hard.
brushes equally on both sides. It's hard.
It's
hard.
hard.
I can do it well now because I actually worked on
You
it. But that
focused on it,
that was a good part of sort of training. Again, things off the horse to help you with your problems. Try doing some stuff. Make yourself do it with the other hand, and
it's really hard.
It will certainly help you when you're on the horse. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it will. So, just little things like that it's actually, a simple but very complicated question. Because I think riders, obviously we're left and right-handed. Horses, they have a dominant and a weaker side. And so, it's two beings, and that's normal. I think every horse has that, and something that you have to think about too. And when you ride, really think, which one is my horse's stiff side and which horse's side is the horse's hollow side. And that will help you a lot. So again, I hope that helps. That's a great question. That's a loaded question, actually. It sounds so simple, but it is.
Well, thanks for that, guys. And don't forget, if you want to become an auditor, you can go to the Dressage Radio Show website, and there's an auditor link right in the middle of the page. And for as little as $1 a month, you can join the Cool Kids Club.
Yeah, it's true.
You can
we
ask
love
us
it. We get
questions directly, and we can try and answer them. So that's
Bill and I are on the thread, so we get, and it is such an active page. It's awesome. It's the most active Facebook page that I'm even associated with, and it's great. Like, honestly, sometimes there's great entertainment that I'm flipping through during the day.
Talk about the weirdest stuff in there.
It's great. Love it.
All right, so we have a shout out first, but I wanted to ask you guys before we get to that. A Total Saddle Fit has a new girth. Have either of you tried it yet? And tell me about it. I don't know anything about it other than I heard they have a new girth.
Yeah, so they do. They have a new girth, and it's fantastic. Justin's so fantastic, and he's such a great supporter of the show, but he's really great. He sends us all of the products for us to test, and he really has been fantastic about it. And I love this girth. This girth, actually, what it has is two pieces that are, and I could be wrong, but they are stretchy. So when you girth the horse up, I think, Phil, you can jump in here too, but you girth the horse up and the girth actually flexes. So if you have a horse, I have a horse that's girthy, and I put it on him, and he likes the shoulder relief girth. He actually got better just with the regular version of the shoulder relief girth, but I put the stretchy version of it on. He's even better, and that's not actually an exaggeration, because he's really a stinker to girth up, and it's he's been checked, and
the new one is called the Stretch Tech Shoulder Relief Girth. If you're checking it out on the TotalSaddleFit.com website, and it's connected in the middle by a piece of elastic. So a lot of the girths have elastic for the buckles to help you get it up, but this one's
toward the ends usually.
It's in the middle.
But this one's through the middle. And I think it helps for the comfort of the horse, and also gives a room for the horse's chest to expand and contract as
makes a lot of sense, actually.
So the horse
I'm
can
telling
breathe
you, Justin
easier,
is
right?
so
It's right in the middle there, and I think it makes them more comfortable.
It has really made my girthy horse better. I'm telling you, he, one of my biggest pet peeves is when the girls, tighten the girths really tight, and I watch them. The horses are standing, waiting for me to come grab them, or the next group or whatever, and I'm constantly yelling at them to don't do that. Well, this girth, even if they were to do that girth, it expands. So the horses, especially the sensitive ones, it's been great. And they have actually different covers. We have a fleece cover. Justin sent it to us. And
the liner. The
liners. Fleece cover.
So,
and there's it's a neoprene that you can just hose off, which is awesome, especially when they get sweaty. You just hose it off, and it's great. So, Justin at Total Saddle Fit is fantastic. He's been on the show. Please contact him if you have any horses with girthing issues, because he's super nice. He's super easy to talk to. He'll chat with you about your horse, and this is a great option. Like I said, for any girthy horse, this is a great option, but it makes sense. The horse, it expands and contracts when the horses, they move and as they breathe. So Justin, another win. He's so smart and does a great job. So definitely take a look at this girth, TotalSaddleFit.com, and or send him an email. He's super easy to get in touch with, and he's great with answering emails. So we hope that helps. I think it's a great product.
Terrific. And now you got some love. Did you want to read it, Philip, or do you want me to read
Yeah,
it?
well, all right, you can read it.
Well,
Yeah,
then-
I like it when you come on the show.
Nice. This
and-
made my day. I
And
loved it.
I think her name's Anne because she never really signed it. But Anne, I'm judging that by her email address, sent this and said, "Hi, Reese and Philip. Just wanted to say I love your show and I recently started listening. I listen every day at work and it makes my day go by quickly. You guys have inspired me to start my own blog, so thank you for putting the horse passion back in my life." That, guys, by the way, you should be in tears. That is the
I did just
that-
tear up a little.
that
I'm not
is
gonna
the-
lie.
for us doing the job that we do. That's what we strive for, right? Is to elicit this kind of passion in people. So for you to get that compliment, you should be very proud because that's what we live for. Right?
Yeah,
We're
it
so
is.
proud.
And thank you. I know I just teared up a little.
We
That
love
was
we love
awesome.
talking to the people with their horse blogs, and we get them on every once in a while because those are great ways for people to communicate about the horse experience, and it sort of creates a community, just like we were talking
Yeah.
about the auditor page. There's a great community of horse people out there, and there's so many ways that the internet is bringing people together, and our show that we hope that it's bringing people together and sometimes solving issues or just talking about issues. And yeah, I think it brings out
Yeah,
great
we love it.
horsemanship and good things. Yeah. So
Well,
I love it.
that's what we're here for, and that's what we're trying to do every week. And we're glad that I'm glad to be part of the team. And Glenn, you have such a great team on the Horse Radio Network, and Phil and I are great friends, and it really does. It's really nice, and we really do try very hard. And please, as always, we're very accessible. We love email shout outs and Facebook pages, and if you have any questions, that's what we're here for. And
Always
if we
looking
can't,
to have people
Yeah.
come on be brave and come on the show
yes,
and talk to
come
us
on the
about
show. Come
horse
talk to
training
us.
issues. It's awesome.
Yeah, we love it. So that's what we're here for, and we really enjoy doing it every week. And that really that made me brought a little tear to my eye. So
Well,
Anne,
it
thanks
should,
so
and we're
much.
proud to have you guys too.
Well, thanks. Well, we're getting better. We're coming.
I
up
might
on,
even buy you dinner next week, Reese.
I know. I'm gonna see Glenn next week. It's gonna be fun. I was trying to entice Philip to come down. I don't know if it would work this year, but maybe next year.
Yeah, we can take him out to cross country day.
Exactly.
I'm going to stay up here.
Show 'em how the other half
enjoying
lives.
the
He's
weather.
he's working hard, everybody. I've just put quotation marks around that. Air quotes.
Yeah. Sounds like my wife.
For sure. Well, everybody, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. You can like us on Facebook. Just search Dressage Radio Show. Philip is great about answering questions on that. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the easiest ways to contact me is through Facebook or my email at philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.